Welcome to the Monday edition. This is November 15th, 2021 of the NBA Triple Double. And I have my co host, Ronald, with me as always. We'll be doing these shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll be filling in with a quick solo NBA on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Welcome to the show, Ronald. How are things going over at SportsMemo?
Pretty well. Yesterday I only had one NBA play, hit that, and then obviously we had football, right? Went 1-1 there, and then 1-1 in college basketball. College basketball could have went 2-0, but overtime is an under killer. And one of my games went into double OT, so that's how that went. But overall, profitable day yesterday, so hopefully keep it going today.
Yeah, it's good. I'm sure you will.
Yeah,
For
yeah. How
those that
about
don't
you?
know, it's going well. Totals in the NBA are treating me very well. I think 74% for the season so far.
Nice.
Of course, that is an unsustainable pace, so I'm sure we'll have those pockets. But that's the normal process. But I like how I'm reading the card in the totals, and the trends with the season starting out to the under the way it did. I think is really one of the reasons why, because the majority of them are on the over. So a bit contrarian to the opening season trend to the under, which is still hitting 62%. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Football was okay. Nothing really to write home about. I did lose a 5 percenter on the Bucks. That was one of the worst handicaps I think I probably can remember in the last 10 years, maybe. But then good handicaps on Carolina and Detroit. And got lucky with Detroit because of the Roethlisberger COVID situation, and had that booked at 8.5, but it really didn't matter. I think they would have covered no matter what. Pittsburgh is just one of those teams on the radar that I don't think is nearly as good as what their record says. But anyway, thanks for asking. And for those that don't know Ronald, he is the reigning king in NBA. Best bets, win percentage, units made. He made over 80 units last year for his clients at Sports Memo. And we're basically the tag team 1-2 NBA guys. So we hope you enjoy this show. We're going to get started right now with the 7:30 game on Monday night. The Pacers are taking a little trip to Madison Square Garden in New York City. The Knicks are 7-6, 2-4 at the Garden. Line is New York minus 3.5, over under 213 points. Julius Randle is really carrying the Knicks right now. They are a team of two cities basically, not because of location, but they had a nice start to the season, then not so good here, losing 5 of the last 7. I'll turn it over to you, Ronald, and then I'll add my leans here after I hear what you have to say about the game.
Yeah, I think both of these teams are sort of going in the opposite directions right now. Pacers are coming into this one on a two-game win streak, and the Knicks are on a two-game losing streak. Pacers are finally getting healthy, other than TJ Warren, obviously, but and the Knicks have been a couple of their big guys have been game time decisions the last few games. So health wise, they're also going in opposite directions. Um, I think the Pacers right now at full strength are a pretty solid team. I mentioned a few shows ago the Pacers were going to be at full strength, and I thought they were going to win that game, but LeVert ended up sitting down, and they ended up losing that game. So they're still 2-0 when they have everybody except for Warren. And in both games, they looked really great. On both sides of the ball, they actually beat the Knicks in one of those games by double digits. So, and as far as the Knicks go, the starters they really haven't responded well after that. Talk they had after the Bucks game. When the whole starters didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. I think they didn't respond well in their last game. Um, I think Kemba, he's probably one of the bigger problems of the starting lineup. To be honest, I think even though he scored the most points in their last game, he ended up being minus 23 in the plus
Oof.
minus category. And I think the biggest reason is because he's a defensive liability. Um, And I mentioned this in the show before. The Knicks kind of have flipped the script where they were a defensive squad last season and now an offensive squad this season. I think they're really struggling with their identity. I think they need to get back to that defensive squad that they were last season, but it's going to be hard with Kemba playing starter minutes. In this situation with the Knicks being favored, it's kind of hard to back them in their current situation even in the revenge spot. For me, I would lean the Pacers here, plus 3.5.
Well, question for you with the chemistry on the Knicks. I agree 100%. The starting chemistry is not good. And Thibodeau kind of made a statement. Well, he didn't kind of. He made a bold statement by playing the reserves in the game. I believe it was against Milwaukee. Yeah, it was against
Yeah,
the
the
reigning
Bucks. Yeah.
champs. And they made a dramatic run and actually tied the game in the fourth quarter and lost 112 to 100. Do you
Mhm.
think like the benefit of 2 days off, not playing over the weekend, is maybe allowing Thibodeau to have like talks with these guys and saying, hey, let's start playing some defense and here's how we're going to do it, and mapping out the way that chemistry could be built. And I don't know if you can do that in a weekend, but what do you think about having the weekend off to bounce back?
I mean, I think it's a tough situation, regardless of whether or not they had the rest and how Thibodeau spoke to the team, because the roster hasn't changed, and the makeup of these players, Kemba and Fournier not really being defensive minded players, that doesn't change, how that chemistry works, right? I think last season everyone was all in on the defensive side of the ball, and this season, whether or not Kemba and Fournier want to be, they still don't have the skill set to do it. Um, I mean, and the way that Kemba responded really was to score more, but he gave up more points. And Barrett really struggled in the game after the Bucks too, where I think he went like 1 for 9 or something like that. So I mean, I think players are responding in different ways, and I think it's going to take time for them to gel. I feel like it was a setback for them. That Bucks game was.
Yeah, that was a kick in the teeth. And while we're talking about chemistry, I think the Pacers are probably the surprise team with chemistry. They don't have their star in the lineup due to injury, but they're 5-2 over the last 7 games after a 1-6 start, which that didn't surprise anybody because we didn't think the Pacers would be a playoff team this year. But they could easily be 7-0 on this streak. The two losses occurred by a combined total of only 7 points, and they were against some good teams, as in the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers, and both of those were on the road.
Hmm.
So I definitely lean to the Pacers with you on this, simply because they have the better chemistry. They're playing better. They like each other, and you can see the difference.
Hmm.
There's also an angle here on the over, and we'll switch to the next game. Playing over on home teams with a total is greater than 200 points. That is often upset loss as a road favorite, which New York is, and has a winning record on the season playing a losing record team, which is the Pacers. That has gone 57-24 the last 5 seasons for 69% winners. It's only come up once this year, and it lost, and 32-12 over the last 3 seasons. So I think I have a good lean here to the over as well. I think Pacers against that Knicks defense, they should put up more than 111. That's for sure.
Hmm.
So that's about it for that game. Let's move on to the second game we're going to talk about is the Bulls Lakers. It's the last game on the card, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Bulls were a team that you and I both did futures bets on the total wins, and a team that I thought, and Rob Vito over at Wager Talk, who is the king over there in the NBA. He's been the top guy 2 years in a row, and he too thinks the Bulls are a team that is going to outperform over the course of the season. But this is a relatively tough matchup for the Bulls to go out to LA. But Chicago is actually favored by 1, and that's due to the injuries to the Lakers and absentees. And the over under is 217. So, what do you see any advantages in this game?
I think this one is a tough one, right? This is probably one of the more marquee matchups of the night. But both teams are struggling with injuries. Right? Vucevic is out for the Bulls. LeBron is out for the Lakers. Both teams are on back to backs too, so we don't know who's going to sit, who's going to play. And yesterday, I mean, I think one thing to look at too is the Bulls are on back-to-back road games. That's one thing that a lot of cappers look at. But at the same time, you're playing the Lakers and the Clippers, who obviously are both in LA. So I think there's something to look at there where you probably don't want to downgrade that situation too much. THT is back for the Lakers. He actually led the team yesterday at plus 14 in the plus minus category. I think he's a huge boost to this team. I think he's one piece that that the Lakers were missing. But the thing is, like you said, they're struggling with injuries, and that's probably why the Bulls are at -1 right now. Their rotation yesterday looked kind of funky, right? They had Carmelo starting. And then some of the other players. I don't know what happened to Bazemore, but he didn't start and he didn't play at all. Period. Yesterday, but so I don't know if they're resting him for today or what. But yeah, the Lakers roster, their squad, their rotation looked a little bit off with THT coming back, but he was a big plus yesterday. Um, I don't know. This one's a tough one. This is one where I might just sit and watch. But the Bulls are a top defensive team. I think they're top 5 in defensive rating right now. Lakers are one of the worst teams in turnover percentage, and that big reason why is because of Westbrook. And they
So
possibly
true.
will be yeah, and they possibly be will be looking ahead to the Bucks. Uh, you know, um, the
Right.
champions. So there's a couple situations right now where I feel like maybe Bulls have the edge here, but it's tough. This is a tough look. If I had to choose anything, though, I think I would lean the Bulls here.
Yeah, I agree. To add on to the facts that you said about this matchup, the assist to turnover ratio for the Bulls is 8th best in the league at 1.708, and for the Lakers, they are 25th. So to your point about taking care of the ball, they just are not doing that. They're getting 24 assists per game, ranking 10th. Chicago gets 22 and a half, so not much difference there. That's the biggest edge I see. And Chicago's defense, I think, is going under the radar because what we watch in basketball is great dunks and great shots, and it's all offensive when you watch the highlight reels. But Chicago is only allowing 102.7. And I think against this depleted Lakers squad, of course, we'll have to monitor the player situation when we get closer to 5:30, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We can update our opinions and leans at that time on the comment section. But I definitely think that they can really just shut down this Lakers offense. Their opponent points in the paint per game, 42.9. That's 6th best in the NBA. Assists per game, only 20.5. That's 2nd best in the NBA. So I could go on and on with this, Ronald, but I think I like that side with Chicago and the fact that their defense is just so much better than what the Lakers are
Mhm.
doing. And then the problems, like you said, with Westbrook, with the not taking care of the ball, it's gonna lead to easy transition points for the Bulls. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls won this, comfortably start to finish.
Yeah, I think one thing to add to that I noticed yesterday in the Bulls game was Caruso starting. With Vucevic out and Patrick Williams out, I mentioned in a show or two ago about the Bulls being thin in the front line. What they did was kind of they countered that with adding some speed and on ball defense with Caruso in that starting lineup and Lonzo Ball. I think both of them are really great on ball defenders, and also they cheat a lot. So what that does is they go into the passing lanes and they get a lot of steals, and that leads to fast breaks. So I think Ball and Caruso, kind of like a 1-2, backcourt defensive unit is pretty. I think that's an underrated move there by the Bulls, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of steals and fast break points for the Bulls today.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Ronald. Absolutely. So let's move on to the last game here of our triple double show. It's Phoenix at Minnesota. Phoenix is a trending story, to be sure, in the NBA with their 8 game win streak. They're taking on the Timberwolves, who are only a 3.5 point home underdog to the Phoenix Suns, which is kind of less than what I thought it was going to be. Total
Mhm.
points 222 and a half. Do you think Phoenix can make it 9 in a row and cover the spread?
I feel like they should be able to win this game. I think one thing that the line makers are probably looking at is the back-to-back road games. And the fact that maybe the Suns' 8 game win streak, I think seven of those games were against teams with a current record of under 500. I think the only team with a winning record in that list of teams that they beat is the Cavs. So they beat the Pelicans, the Rockets twice, Hawks on the road, and Hawks on the road aren't great at all. The Kings, the Blazers, and the Grizzlies, who I think they're currently 1 game under 500, and that's a surprise to me. I think they should be better. But yeah, so I think that's maybe one reason why that the line isn't as big as it should be. I feel like the Suns should be able to sort of dominate this game. They're number 2 in assist to turnover ratio, top 5 in shooting percentages, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. Um, and the Wolves, they're actually bottom 5 in offensive rating, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. So they're kind of like on the opposite side when it comes to offense. And the Wolves are also the worst defensive rebounding team in the league. Um, and so I think there's a lot of things kind of leaning towards the Suns here. The line is a little funky to me too. I feel like it should be more like 6 points or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I do think the Suns should be able to win this one. Um, yeah, I guess right now that to me is looking into why the line is so low. Maybe I'm missing something, or maybe the line makers are off. So my lean here would be the Suns, and maybe a slight lean to the over here too. On back-to-back games, maybe the Suns kind of have tired legs and let the Wolves kind of run. I know both teams are top 10 in pace, so maybe a look at the over too.
Yeah, I agree with everything on that too. With the over now, one thing I wanted to point out is that Phoenix, is a great shooting team, as you illustrated. The rebounding stats then get kind of blurred. They don't have as great a meaning because Phoenix is looks like a bad rebounding team, but that's because they make a lot more of their shots that don't require an offensive rebound.
Yeah.
Their defensive rebound percentage is 78%, which that's above average for the NBA. At this point. Now, offensive rebound percentage, they're second to last, but that again is because they make so many shots. Contrary to that, it's Minnesota. Offensive rebounds per game, they're number 3, and that's because they don't shoot the ball well. But do you have any concern, Ronald? With the tired legs, it triggered this thought that I'm talking about, that Minnesota, despite their poor shooting percentages, will get a lot more second chance scoring opportunities because of the tired legs.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I think the over might be a good spot here, is because of that, right? They'll be able to get the second
Yep.
chance points. Not only that, I think one thing that I noticed is you know we saw this with Detroit the other day, one of the worst offensive teams in the league. Sometimes you got to pick your spots because they ended up scoring like 120 points against a pretty decent team. So I think maybe this is a spot where the Wolves can kind of correct some of their shooting percentages and score a little bit more. But overall, the reason why I still lean on the Suns on the side is just because, in the end, when it matters the most in the fourth quarter, I feel like the Suns will make it work and end up winning the game.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And then you just don't bottom pick with a team like Minnesota. You just don't bottom pick, period. And what I mean by that, you're getting a skinny line here of 3.5, and based on what we've just talked about, it looks like an overreaction in the betting community. The fact that they're playing back-to-back nights, the Suns are, and they're giving a lot more credit to Minnesota. And I think there's that due factor, and it's just so frivolous to even consider when you're a pro sports bettor, that because Phoenix has won 8 in a row, they're due to lose. Well, no, they're not. But the market will reflect that. It's not like flipping a coin in heads and tails, and each one's mutually exclusive from the other. The market changes based on each successive win that Phoenix has. So you and I both know, Ronald, that if they win this game by double digits, the Suns in their next game probably will get overpriced, and probably we'll be talking about a possible fade at that time. But I would not bet Minnesota against them right now. They're playing at too high a level to even consider it. So I guess that'll be a wrap for our Monday, November 15th, 2021 NBA triple double. Always fun. We'll be back Wednesday, the two of us. Tomorrow I'll do a single show with 1 or 2 picks on my own. And thank you for your time, Ronald. Make sure you get to sportsmemo.com and get a subscription. It'll save you a ton of money over buying it every single day. And you know how busy your days are. You don't want to get in that situation where you're so busy, I forgot to go get it. By getting a subscription, you get it right to your email box every single day. The minute he puts something out or I put something out, it's right there. And that's the best way to go. So on behalf of Ronald, myself, the Triple Double NBA Show, and SportsMemo.com, may all the wins be yours.